Howdy, y'all. You're listening to the Fool's Lantern Podcast. Today we have a showcase episode for you. We're doing Battlestar Galactica, Season 1, starting with the first 2 miniseries episodes and then the first 6 episodes of the series. So, I want to just throw it off to Tank. What did you think, Tank?
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I'm still going to need some more time to come to terms with it.
Yeah. What do you mean?
I mean, I've got some gripes that we can get into in a little more detail.
Okay, so you're just lukewarm at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not super on board yet.
What do you think, Stitch?
I thought it was very good. I thought it was difficult to watch it all at once because you don't let specific incidences soak in.
Yeah.
But if you watch like one episode a day and do like that, I think that's the best way to do it.
Oh, I disagree.
Well,
I like
we're not
binge watching. There's even a Portlandia sketch about it. One more episode.
Some of us have life, Shanna. And some of us like to pretend that we do.
Terrible. never have one of those.
So you were down to the wire, even though we had 2 weeks to watch it.
Yep.
But it sounds like you enjoyed it.
Yep, it's very good.
Now, JJ is on for this episode because it has one of his favorite plot lines in it. What did you think of this first stretch of episodes?
I mean, I could watch the whole series again, start to finish, and not get tired of it. I remember the first time I watched it, I was hooked right from the beginning. Didn't have the miniseries when I first watched it.
Yeah,
the 2 opening ones. But the first one that I saw was episode 1 with the Olympic carrier.
It's a great episode. That
still just gives me goosebumps to even just think about. I freaking love the show.
Shanna?
Yeah, of course. I love this show. I also didn't watch the miniseries first, so that's interesting that me and JJ both are huge fans of the show, and we started with 33.
That was actually a conscious decision I made to not show you the miniseries first. And it worked, because you start out with 33, you were locked in. There were some issues where you kind of were confused about some plot points
Sharon
because of that.
I was so confused about that whole situation, but...
But my brother's also shown some people, and the people he showed the miniseries first, it was a huge struggle for him to get them to continue watching, whereas the people who just jumped in on 33 were super into it.
Now that's not everybody though, because I this past Christmas I've been trying to get my dad to watch this show for years, because my dad and I the only thing we have in common is Star Trek, and so I'm like, dude, this is a little bit more plot heavy than Star Trek, but it's still got the space and sci-fi elements in there and stuff like that, and I think you'll really like it. And so I basically kind of just told him, hey, one of your Christmas presents that you're going to get me is to sit down and watch the first part of this with me, and I guarantee it'll turn into a Christmas present for you. And so him and I on Christmas Day watched the first part of the miniseries, and then it got done, and he was like, well, let's just finish the other one, why not? Like, okay. He had the whole series done in 2 weeks because he got so
impressive.
Into it. Yeah.
That's crazy.
You should have told him it's like Star Trek, but better.
Wow.
Well, it's not about the only thing they have in common is that they're in space. That's about it.
Well, I would say that, Star Trek wrote a really good ensemble. And Ronald Moore was the showrunner for Star Trek for a long time, and he knows how to write for characters.
Ronald D. Moore? Doesn't he live in Portland?
Yeah, that one. And I think he carried that strength into this show because everybody's just so well thought out. That's the big commonality I see with Star Trek.
He wrote the season 3 episode, The Bonding, just as a script writer submitting a script to Star Trek. He wasn't part of the writing staff at the time, but they liked it so much they brought him on board and made him staff writer. By the end of The Next Generation, he was a producer and actually won a Hugo Award for the series finale. He went on to be co-executive producer for Deep Space Nine and 2 episodes of Voyager before he left for creative differences.
With Voyager?
What? And he was one of the executive producers for the HBO series Carnival, which is fantastic.
I've not watched that.
It's pretty good, but it doesn't have a satisfying ending.
So wait, is it fantastic or is it pretty good?
It would have been fantastic all the way through had it finished. There you go.
So it was so good they canceled it.
Television.
That's what HBO used to do all the time. They would
They did it with Deadwood. They did it with Rome. Didn't Rome kind of just fall off the face of the earth?
Yep. It's like, oh, people love this show, but it's expensive. It's done.
Hope they do it to Game of Thrones. That'd be great.
You shut your mouth.
Oh, God, that'd be great.
So, Stitch, can you give us, like, the bare bones explanation of what the series is about?
Earth's screwed. They leave. Now they're chased.
Are you kidding me? You got it wrong
Nope,
with the
no,
first
he
word.
cannot, is what he's saying.
You just watched these episodes.
Yep. Caprica's screwed. They leave. Cylon chase
Oh
thee.
my god.
Then shit happens.
Did you just say
The 12 colonies, Stitch.
Yeah.
Cylon chase thee? Is that what you just said?
That's what I heard, yeah.
It's the with two E's.
So
Being
you as the
biblical.
viewer are getting chased, apparently.
No, basically, everybody aboard Galactica, which is an old ship that's about to be decommissioned and turned into a museum, is the last ship that is not networked in any way. So, basically, Caprica, which is Capital, Caprica.
Oh my god.
Caprica's capital, Caprica.
Yeah.
I've forgotten what this show is about already.
No, Caprica is basically about to be attacked by the Cylons without them knowing. And the Battlestar is the only ship that is not networked, so the Cylons cannot disable the Battlestar. So I'm skipping over a lot of points because these are very, very.
Well,
dense
no, I'm just
episodes.
asking you for like the basic formula of the show, and then I'm going to let someone else get
Okay,
the details.
Good. Basically, the Battlestar Galactica is the only ship that is not affected by the Cylon attack on Caprica. So they had to flee Caprica while all the other Caprica and all the other 12 colonies are attacked, and drama happens.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Drama. Oh, drama.
So the miniseries starts out with like
Admiral O'Drama.
the Battlestar Galactica is being turned into a museum.
President
It's being-
O'Drama.
Wow.
Let's clear something up. It's not Odama. It's Adama. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we got to stop that.
Captain Obama is going to kill everybody.
Boy.
Spoiler alert.
All right.
It's actually Obama.
Spoiler
Who
word.
wants to explain what happened in the miniseries?
I think I remember most of the parts that I was awake for.
Perfect.
Because I've watched that before. That was actually, I watched the miniseries a long time ago, and everyone's like, Battlestar Galactica is so great. And I was like, well, this is on Netflix. I'll watch it. This is really terrible. Why do people like this so much?
I actually thought the miniseries wasn't bad at all. Like,
Well, let's explain what happened and then jump into what you thought.
no.
Okay.
Okay.
So the miniseries starts off with this little, kind of exposition that the Cylons were created by the humans centuries ago or millennia ago, long time ago. Gained sentience, turned on their masters, war, blah, blah, blah. Finally, they had an uneasy peace, but they all never, saw each other again. Until suddenly the Cylons show back up and start punching people in the face. And there's this blonde lady who kills a baby and tricks Gaius Baltar into giving her the defense network codes. So they nuke all of the human colonies into oblivion, destroy all of the Battlestars and everything except for Galactica because it's old and rusty.
It's not rusty.
So probably somewhere. I mean...
Do you think there's steel on it?
I mean, it's old for sure.
Yeah, but they have
They probably
steel.
like polished it up though because it's turning into a museum.
But it's also old, but it has to be in space. So
So anywho, they
it's expensive to bring things into space, and steel's heavy. Why does everybody hate
This is
me?
the future where like everyone can go in space.
there's a lot of concrete on that ship, if that's your argument.
Okay, point taken.
So anywho, they have the old Mark I Vipers in the museum on the Galactica, and so it's like basically the only option they have to fight back is their old antiquated equipment. So they round up the surviving humans and head out to try and find what they're going to do next.
Yeah,
They end up
they don't
stumbling
have
upon
they don't have any ammo or anything.
no
'cause it's a
munitions,
museum.
Yeah, so they head for the secret
Anchorage.
anchorage in this nebula place.
Yeah,
Find this guy there, his caretaker, who's kind of gone crazy. Come to find out he's actually a Cylon, because they can look like humans now.
what?
Uh-huh. But apparently the radiation was making him go crazy because it's bad for Cylons.
Yeah,
Something. So Adama kills him and keeps it a secret that Cylons can look like humans now.
Obama's always keeping them secrets.
He doesn't want a witch hunt.
He doesn't. He does not want that.
yeah.
But that would never happen. So,
I don't know.
Spoilers.
They get out, they jump into space, they do a warp thingy with all the fleet. The president's there.
Yeah.
You know, that's the high points.
That's pretty good. So the president is like the head of the minister of education.
She's like the 44th in line.
Yeah. And she's out in space gathering up all the other ships that have FTL drives and trying to get them rounded up to take them to the Battlestar Galactica. There's some like drama there where like Lee's doing what he wants to do, and
they all nearly die.
Yeah.
And he saves them with a last second warp jump.
Yep. But basically boils down to they find the Galactica, and she's become the president because everyone else is dead. And
I have to say that scene, that's one part that really sticks out vividly in my mind. The scene where she gets sworn in, like,
yeah,
she's so, I don't know if it's just well shot or what, but like just the look on her face, like, I never expected this to happen to me in a million years. And she's just so tiny and like frail and like, I am supposed to lead these people. What?
And she has cancer.
It's, well,
she does.
Yeah. But I mean, just the way that it's presented and the way, you know, that all plays out, I just thought was really, really like just right in the feels.
It's pretty cool. It's definitely like a humbling experience.
The entire show always feels desperate. It always feels like there's just a lot going on. It always feels like you're in space and they're being attacked by these unknown people, and you're always trying to figure out, okay, who is the Cylon? Because somebody here is a Cylon, except for the opening when they reveal that what's her name's a Cylon.
Sharon.
Boomer. Like every opening's like, okay, great, thanks, but. It's always amazing how they can keep that tension up through the entire show.
So that's what happens in the miniseries. I felt like we all knew there was going to be a Cylon attack, and it took forever for it to actually happen.
It was like, what, 6 hours? Like 3 hours each? Or
no, it was 3 hours total, I think.
3 hours total.
It's like an hour and a half each.
It felt longer. It was a very long time for not very much at all to happen. It was like 45 minutes of a regular episode.
It was made after the show had already started, right?
No, it wasn't. It was actually almost a year before.
Oh, there goes that argument then. I have no idea why it dragged on so long.
I was actually reading Edward James Olmos had to make blog posts because he got all this hate mail for ruining Battlestar Galactica when they saw the miniseries. And he was like, if you're a fan of the original, don't watch this because you're going to hate it. That was before the series actually started, but during the miniseries airing.
For some reason, for me, I thought the miniseries did a really good job of actually setting everything up. Maybe it's just because I've watched part of it before and it helps.
I would agree with you. I think it did a great job of developing who these characters are, what their motivations are, like how desperate the situation is. It gives you all the information you need, like even not in a straightforward way, like about their religion, about the Cylons, just without telling you directly what's going on.
And on top of that, it kind of shows you like the lull. Like everyone's like, "Oh, the Cylon Wars were 50 years ago. We don't need this old rust bucket." Then everyone's kind of going into this. Well, the Cylon Wars was my dad's generation problem. Now we gotta look forward and just not have any of these wars.
And like those crazy old people, like how could they be afraid of technology? Well, you see now, don't you?
Yeah, it's just like kind of what happens like when there's not like the lull in America before like 9/11 happened, and then now suddenly everything's going crazy and all that stuff. That's why I'm kind of rambling. I don't know if this makes sense.
No, I gotcha. The way they've kind of become complacent.
Yeah, they got complacent and lax, and all of a sudden, when that happens, that was the perfect time to strike, and then now almost all of humanity's destroyed.
Yeah.
This is also a good intro to Adama's speeches. Like, they really are good writers on that show. Like,
I'm always glad that they got the teacher from Stand and Deliver.
He has such
teach people
presence.
about math.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and same with Laura Roslin. Like, she has some really good lines, and like she just owns the authority that she has. She doesn't waffle or like
waffle.
Waffle.
I'm hungry.
Try to divert to anybody else. She's a really strong.
She's always so pained to make the decisions she has to make.
Yeah.
She's not making them lightly, which is very clear.
I think on both the president's and Adama's side, it's amazing.
Adama?
Obama.
You can call him Obama.
Okay.
But not Odama.
Odometer.
Okay, you can call him Odometer.
Was it Roslin, President Roslin?
Mm-hmm.
And Odometer's son. How they...
What? Wait, hold on. What did you just say?
Odometer's son.
He's allowed...
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying Laura Roslin and Odama had a son, and I was like, whoa.
You should know that yet. That's season 3.
No, that's not a spoiler. I just thought he wasn't paying attention.
Well, now you ruined the fact that they don't have a son together.
Yeah.
I give up.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Lee?
Oh, no, not Lee.
Odama's son.
Basically, it shows the political side. It shows the political side in the military side, how they butt heads and how they have different priorities. While the military side is all about survival, the political side is always about helping as many people as possible.
Yeah.
While those two always clash. So the military side, when Starbuck crash lands on that planet, military side also Osama.
Oh my
Wow.
God. I can't handle it.
Wow.
Also, Odama. He's going to be Odama from now on. Screw you, JJ.
Wow.
That's how I heard it.
You've been going for like 5 minutes on this.
I know it's because everyone's like, oh, it's whatever. And I'm trying to remember what it actually is, and now I'm confused.
I don't even know what you're trying to say. I would help you if I knew.
He's trying to
remember
talk about
Osama's
the dichotomy
name.
between politics
I can
and
talk about the
military.
dichotomy.
Okay, but
there's a phrase that is said several times throughout the first 6 episodes in the miniseries, where Rosalind's on the phone with Adama, and they're talking about what they should do, and then
nerds.
Adama goes, "It's a military decision," which is like totally they're building up this whole this tension between the two groups, where not everything is that clear cut in the world. You can't just make a military decision and a civilian decision. You're all in it together.
Yeah,
and they're clearly bringing that up to like a boiling point where it's going to become a huge issue later on. So,
and it's like when things happen, when they find the water on that planet, and they're like, well, we'll get the prisoners to do it. Well, then the prisoners revolt, because guess what? Those prisoners are actually people.
Yes.
Because there's always like, oh, well, why doesn't Adama just blow up the prisoner's ship? Well, because the people will probably revolt. And,
and a military man would never blow up the president.
I mean, he's not a bad guy that I've seen yet.
Yeah, he wouldn't be evil enough to blow up civilian ships. He would just leave them behind.
Ty would. Ty's my man.
Oh, we should talk about Ty.
He's definitely, I mean, he's aggressively pragmatic. You know, the fact that like he's like when the Ty made the decision to let those 80-some people get sucked into space rather than let the ship
compartment
burn. He's like, he made the right call because he sacrificed 100 men to save thousands.
And he would never down talk his XO in front of lower,
Right.
Even if he did question him, he's like, that's a decision that was made. We have to move forward.
Exactly.
Like, we can't just agonize over things that we've done.
Speaking of that prison revolt episode, kind of where at the end, like they said, what we really want, or the terrorist leader was like, what I really want is, the president to follow the law. I want elections. I want her to not be an appointed dictator for life. And like how strongly that both Adama and the president like objected to that at first, was really strange to me. Like that's perfectly reasonable.
Well, and that's why Lee kind of just flew off the handle. It was like that's the law. That's what I'm here to enforce.
It's perfectly reasonable, but both of them are thinking more of this is a dire situation. Why are we thinking about this right now when we have people that are about ready to die? But then when you think about it for long enough, that's the prisoner's bargaining chip. If that's what they want, well, we're not going to go down there and get this water if we don't get our demands. It's a bargaining chip, and that's how it works. It's a hard decision on top of hard decisions to solve another hard decision.
Yeah, and that's what this show is all about.
There's no right or wrong. It's just one person make a decision. That's why on Battlestar, the board game, I almost saved us.
No, you did not.
Yeah.
No, you
didn't. We got to the last one.
Yes, and you fucked us.
No, you guys have never gotten that far.
I swore you were a Cylon.
There's a
with how bad you were playing.
There's a board game for Battlestar Galactica. You probably should know that at home before they start yelling at each other.
You definitely seem like a Cylon.
It's like a one night type of game where you are guessing who's the Cylons and who's not the Cylons, and you're trying to get to safety, where one of the players is actually sabotaging everything you're doing.
Right, one or more.
Yeah. And
Great
Stitch
game.
fucked everyone over.
No, I almost got us out of there, which is the farthest. You said that was the farthest you've ever gotten that game, and I almost won.
You had the opportunity to jump, but you didn't take it.
I forgot. I don't remember all the details.
I've
all I know
beaten
is
that game before.
not before me. You said it yourself. Anyway, I'm the best Obama.
Oh my.
So that's what happens in the miniseries. And then we go to the first episode, which is 33, where they're jumping every 33 minutes because the Cylons keep arriving right at exactly 33 minutes on the dot, which is weird, and it's the same every time. So they're trying to figure out what's going on there.
And apparently, Baltar is seeing the blonde baby killer like in his head everywhere he looks.
I love that. I love when
Which
he
is
gets
fantastic.
caught. Like I like that they address the fact that he's just talking to the air,
Right, or
he's doing these things in front of other
being
people.
very awkward around
He's
everyone.
like in the fetal position in his chair saying, the human body can only take so much. And he's like arguing with her about it. And there's these two guys just sitting there like, what the hell is going on here?
What you doing, bud?
I don't know what's more awkward when he does it without her or with her, because it's pretty awkward both ways. That's a very awkwardly done like sex scenes and everything whenever she's around.
Yeah. But
Yes.
definitely. It's one of my least favorite parts of the show.
Yeah, well,
the way they try so hard to make her seem like sexy, and like these scenes are so sensual or whatever. I don't know. It's just awkward.
She's always so sensual to the point where it's just really awkward the whole time. Like when they. Okay, it was
Yes.
No, it was episode 6, right, where she shows up and she is real. For realsy real.
Wait.
Yeah, we're not
No,
talking
that's
about that
not-
episode.
I'm
It's
just
in
saying.
this
Episode 7.
first set of episodes.
That's episode 7. We're not talking about
Okay.
that.
Cut that.
Wow.
Well, that's why I have to ask. This is a shit show.
Yes.
Battlestar is a shit show.
Whoa.
So
Yeah, 33 was
they
amazing.
eventually realize when they make the jump and one of the ships doesn't jump with them that there might be something to that. And the ship finally jumps in and they start the timer just to see what happens. And right when the timer gets to 33 minutes, the Cylons show up. And that's what JJ was referring to earlier, where they have to make this horrible decision that nobody should have to make. But the issue is forced because they're about to become an extinct species.
Right.
Well,
and this is too, and the name of the doctor that was on the Olympic carrier.
We're talking about Doc Cottle?
No,
The guy that was smoking?
The guy that
the,
Baltar was so scared
yeah.
of. 'Cause
Oh,
he,
yeah.
is it .com?
No, because he knows something about what Baltar did. Like he can put the blame on him for killing
This
the
is
entire
like
human race.
one of the, well, I guess the miniseries showed it too. Just the way the universe works for Baltar, just like coincidence leads the way
Right.
for him. Like he just survives by the skin of his teeth every time.
But so they've got that going on, and then yeah, like I said, the carrier is just heading towards the ship and refusing to answer any hails. They're not slowing down, and then all of a sudden they're detecting nuclear warheads arming on the ship.
Yeah.
So Captain Adama Apollo has to make the decision to kill the ship,
Which
including-
allegedly has like 1,400 people
Right.
on it.
But you don't see him. But I read something interesting that originally they were supposed to be able to clearly see civilians inside the Olympic carrier and make the decision anyway. But the network was like,
Sci-Fi said the show's
this
too dark.
episode's
You
too
can't do that.
dark. We can't do that. I really wish they had. I mean, I still thought it was effective, but the
Right.
way that they're agonizing later on, it explains a lot to me. Like,
Yeah.
it seemed like the clear right choice when I watched it.
I think
That's kind of it's clearly the right choice, but it's still not any easier
Right.
because of it. It's like
It's a
you
choice
either
no
do
one
this,
should ever have to make.
right? It's like you either do this and everyone dies, or you don't do it and everyone over here dies.
Yeah.
It's too bad they didn't add that into like the like Blu-ray release or something like that, where they put those in there, because 2003 is such a different time for television, like what they can show, what they can't show, than what it is now.
Yeah.
Where now they'd be like, oh, can you show like babies like scratching at the windows trying to get out or something like that, and make it like super dark. We've had plenty of dark shows on TV.
It's
like your
changed.
idea.
I don't know what you're talking about, but the climate has changed, and like standards and practices has gotten
Yeah.
a lot more lax. as they're trying to compete with HBO more and more.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons I like that episode so much is it really sets the tone for what you're going to expect throughout the entire run of the show, really. I mean, sure, there are going to be some parts where they kind of get to feel a little bit more complacent and stuff like that, but, I mean, it never really lets up as far as, oh my gosh, what are they going to do now?
Yeah.
Right.
And one of the things that I really like about that, beyond just how difficult these decisions are, is that the show never tries to tell you how you should feel about it. It just shows you the facts and then lets you decide what you think.
I've never had a show where I think, oh, well, clearly this is what they should do, and then they make me second guess myself when they make you think about it a lot more. And they don't shove it in your face. They just make you think, well, this is why probably I'm wrong, but then again, I do have good points, and then you're arguing with yourself, and then eventually they make the decision, and you don't know if that was the right one or not.
That's why this is my favorite series. It's just like the writers are almost arguing with themselves as they make decisions, and they just lay out they don't make it clean ever, and so it's never easy. So
I think the way that different people kind of represent those viewpoints to the president is much more, she's the people's person, so she's empathizing more with the saving as many people as they can, whereas Adama is the military man of action. He's pragmatic. He knows mathematically this is the best course of action. We're going to do that.
Stitch.
Sorry, guys. I had rice.
Which does, though, bring up one of my recurring gripes with this show. What is up with all the octagons?
Oh, yeah.
It's kitschy, but
everything that is used, like if it's a piece of paper or if it's used for writing or for anything in relation to a piece of paper, is shaped like an octagon.
Yeah, dude.
For no reason. The books are octagons.
The pyramid cards?
The clipboards are octagons. Their papers from their printers are octagons. Her little note card that she writes Olympic carrier on, it's like a little post-it note, is an octagon.
Her cast was
her dry erase markers, or marker board, is an octagon. The eraser is an octagon.
I think it's a nice little nod to people who are fans of the original series.
It's getting to the point where it's like detracting from the show for me, because every time I see it, I'm like, why is that an octagon?
You just have to go through that valley, and you'll come out the other side and eventually be like, ha ha, yes, octagons.
Just cutting all of my own books into octagons.
Yeah, Mark and I were talking, and we don't even see the flaws anymore. That's probably a problem.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even remember what my gripes were when I first
I have a
watched
gripe.
it.
I have a gripe.
No, I have a gripe first.
I have 3 gripes.
Why do they show spoilers for the episode in the intro sequence?
I've always wondered that too.
Oh, like the little like theme music section?
Yeah, like when the drums start.
Amped up.
When the drums start halfway through the song.
I did notice that at the episode with Elo, where he's on like surviving alone on Caprica. They show like basically the entire episode summarized in that little opening clip.
Here's what happens. Okay, I guess I can skip the episode now.
I mean, just in case you just need to see enough of it where you have to get going, but you want to watch some of the episode.
You got to go to work later.
That's how Stitch watches TV.
Yeah. It's like when you're reading a book and you're just like, screw this, I'm just going to read the summary.
The Spark Notes.
Yeah. My biggest gripe is I hate the word frack.
Well,
that's annoying to me. I hate fake.
It's a good placeholder.
I hate fake curse words.
I agree with you that I don't like placeholders.
Also, it's worse now that you always hear about fracking, and it's obnoxious, and then people walk around with frack shirts on.
That's what they're talking about. They know how bad fracking is. In the future, it became a curse word.
Oh.
It is a little weird, and I honestly, like, even now, after having seen the whole thing through a few times, I still think it's kind of awkward to listen to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you get used to it, and it's just... It's kind of one of those... It's become one of the things that the show is known for. And people, like, especially, nerds and geeks and stuff like that, people in well, maybe not all you guys, but at least my circle that I hang out with, they'll use that in jokes all the time because it's part of geek culture at this point.
You know what I'm sure it's used a lot in is Big Bang Theory. That show sucks.
Do you have to say that every single
He does.
episode?
That's his new thing.
That's
actually.
like your catchphrase?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's annoying, but you eventually just learn to get used to it. Because, I mean, it's on a Sci-Fi channel.
Right.
It's also weird when everyone is just, like, completely straight-laced and never says any kind of cursing.
Yeah.
In a military...
Especially, a military environment at the end of the world, there's going to be some tension.
I think we need to take all these episodes and replace the frack with a bleep. and then maybe it'll be better.
Oh, sounds terrible. I like hearing Colonel Ty say, fracking Cylon.
Okay, Ty.
Those fracking Cylons.
Ty's always the exception.
Yeah. So I don't have any notes for the episode Water. Does anyone want to say anything about it, or should we keep moving?
Well, Water's the one that I was talking about earlier with the prisoners, right?
No,
Nope.
that's Bastille Day.
That's
the next episode.
Water's the one where what's the pilot Boomer?
Boomer.
She discovers that there are a bunch of detonators missing, even though she's a Cylon. So
We don't know
She's
that
a
yet.
sleeper.
she's a Cylon, but
She
she
doesn't know
doesn't.
it.
We saw her as a Cylon already, in the miniseries. They show you like the 8 people who are Cylons.
They don't show all of them, do they?
They show a handful.
No, they show
They show
4,
a
I think.
good selection of Cylons.
I think we know like 5 of them right now.
But so she finds all these missing detonators, like 7 of them, and
Yeah.
sorry, JJ's being distracting over there with his subtle winking.
I didn't say a word.
JJ always looks like he wants to say something about something.
So they track down most of the detonators except for one, which ends up being, or all 6 of them there. I think.
They're all missing. I don't think they.
There's 12 total.
They
She
find
returns
some
the
of them.
7th. They find 5 or so.
And then they blow up the water tanks.
They lose like
All
over half of the water.
Right, most of their water's gone. And so they're all like freaking out. What are we going to do?
That's like the water for the whole fleet. So
Yeah, and then I think there's one detonator still missing, so they're sending people out to find water, and Hilo finds it in her shuttlecraft while they're looking for water, and freaks out and acts really strange.
Well, in while looking for the water, they're scanning moons or planets or whatever, and she finds a planet with water, but she's having difficulty saying that, oh, there's water on this planet. She says no at first, and she's like, wait, that's weird. There's something wrong with that. So she re-scans it, and she's having difficulty, and then you notice her hand creeping,
She's trying to hit that
creeping
detonator.
on the detonator, but she's able to resist and say, there's water, and then they find their water. Where are they going to store that water if their tanks are destroyed, by the way?
they can repair the tanks.
No, nothing can repair tank.
So anyway,
And that's a separate issue.
that's
The
I
most
think how the episode
interesting
ends.
part of this, I liked the viewpoint of the military on the people, like Ty saying, civilians don't like here and they don't have to take a shower, or they don't get to take a shower.
Yeah.
We're gonna see that happen in California
Exactly.
here pretty soon. Topical.
So then we go straight into Bastille Day, which is how are they going to get the water? Because they need a lot of it, and it's in ice form. The liquid type was like undrinkable. It was salt water, essentially.
Right.
So they have to get slave labor. They find out there's this ship that had like 1,000 prisoners on it that were up for parole hearings. And they're going to take them all and send them down there to mine the water,
Voluntarily.
which works out well.
For freedom points.
Yes. They're like, we don't believe in slavery, so we're going to give you freedom points.
Which just sounds like a bad deal.
It does.
And also
That sounds like microtransaction
Right.
crap.
it's also all the freedom points are in hexagons.
Oh.
For $5, you can get 50 freedom points. Use these to skip any waiting.
Or you can mine ice and get it for free.
Yes.
I
This
tried.
is where we see Tom Zarek, which...
Yes, Tom Zarek is like this freedom fighter who blew up some government building back in the day because he didn't support what the government was doing,
Or is
the
he a
exploitation of
terrorist?
his people. Right, or is he a terrorist? That's one of the debates in the episode. But basically he shows up and he's like, we're not going to work for you. You guys are going to turn us into slaves. This isn't. We don't recognize your authority in this. And
She wasn't elected into power.
And then there's like a coup where they have a prison break and they go and they take over the ship and they have to send people in to deal with that situation. And what happens, JJ?
When they try to take it over, they come to a peaceful agreement because politics basically is what takes over.
Yes.
And Tom Zarek is chosen to be like their spokesman because he was the one that kind of orchestrated the whole thing from behind the scenes. And in a weird way, Lee really respects him.
Yeah.
And I always thought that relationship was kind of cool between the two of them.
Because he read his books when he was in college.
Right.
Even though they were banned. And
Right.
and there's this big argument, and eventually it comes down to Tom Zarek wants there to be a presidential election.
Which
And they're like, you can't do that. We can't negotiate with terrorists. And they're like, oh, I'm just going to do it anyway.
And Starbuck tries to shoot him in the head.
Yes. So that's what happens, basically, is they eventually agree to do it. Lee puts them in charge of their own ship, so they have some like level of autonomy now. They have their own, they have control of their own lives, and elections are going to happen in 9 months, I believe.
Whenever the dead president's term should have expired.
Yes.
But the president then reveals that she'll be dead by then anyway.
Yep. She's got that cancer.
Space cancer is incurable.
This is the last episode that has Boxy in it.
Boxy?
That little
Boxy
kid?
is that random little kid that has no purpose in the show.
Oh, I already forgot about him.
He's out of it now. He's no more.
Did they shoot him at the airlock?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what happened. There you go.
He got blown up by that Cylon with the C4 vest.
He kept referring to the captain as Adama.
So did you think that was the right move from Lee?
Sending the kid out the airlock?
Yes. And also, what he did with Zarek also.
Yes, because killing Zarek would have just caused the prisoners to pretty much either go nuts, or they would just not do what is need to be done, which is get the water.
Well, obviously, killing him would have been a really bad decision, but
And the president and Adama have such a distaste for Tom Zarek, they're not willing to see how rational what he's asking for is. So Lee's able to cut through that and say, this is for the survival of the fleet. This is something that should be happening. Let's just do that. It's fine. And I think the fact that they're reliant on the main ships, that prison ship, they're not going to screw anything up too bad.
Yeah, I mean, they're totally reliant on the Battlestar.
Right, and that was like one of their concerns when they found out that he gave them control of the ship. Like, they're just going to ram it into one of us. Why would they do that? Why would they kill all of themselves?
It was like,
that's silly.
The ship doesn't have any weapons. The ship is a weapon. I need some more liquor.
Yeah. I relate to Ty the most. But it's also, they don't show the prisoners as like completely rational, because some of the prisoners are indeed still killers and rapists and whatever, and they show that. I forget who did.
Callie?
Yeah, so like one of the prisoners trying to
there's
go after Callie. So they
There's
weren't.
some sketchy people on the
It's
ship.
not like, oh yeah, we're all prisoners, we're all still human beings. Well, no, there's still sketchy people in there, but they're taken care of.
I like that they didn't just portray them all as these noble freedom
Yeah, it
fighter
wasn't like the Dark
prisoners.
Knight
It was,
on the boat where it's like,
Right.
oh, we're prisoners, but we're all good people too.
Yeah.
It's like, no, there's bad people.
Yeah. Well, even if you were bad, that'd be a bad time to show it on that show.
Yeah. So then, Act of Contrition.
yeah, this one I felt was the weakest of the first 6 episodes,
Yeah.
but it did show something important.
Actually, this episode starts with like they're celebrating something on the deck, and there's
Thousandth landing.
this 1000th landing, and then this like rack falls down and a missile shoots and kills some people.
Mm-hmm.
And the story behind
Lots of
that, is SciFi said, the show's really dark. We want you to start one of the episodes on a lighter note. So they said, oh, we'll start with a celebration, and then this turns into a tragedy immediately.
That's fantastic.
Well, sorry to kind of go back. Which episode was it where a baby is born and then it shows Rosalind?
That was like the first episode.
Yeah.
That
That was 33 when she was so focused on those numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the only other happy point I can think of in that
on
show.
her octagon whiteboard.
Yep.
With her octagon pen.
Terrible.
I like that whiteboard. I mean, not the way it looks, but I think it's a really good prop.
Yeah,
for getting the story up across.
It illustrates too. I mean, her focus
Yeah.
is not the big picture. Her focus is the people.
And in a way, that's what matters.
Right.
Because if you don't have people,
Right.
you don't have anything.
Yeah.
I like
So-
the shape, personally.
You like the shape?
Yeah, I like the octagonal shape.
You want me to get
Wait.
you one for your birthday?
Do you say octodong?
Yes, that's exactly what I said.
The octodongle. So anyway, Act of Contrition starts with that. Some of the pilots get killed, and they realize they're going to need more
Most of them
pilots.
it was like 15.
Was it? Yeah. It was a lot of pilots, and they have more Vipers than pilots now. So they have to go out to the fleet and find anyone that has any kind of flying experience and bring them in and try and get them up to...
and put them in the flight simulator, right? So they can learn safely?
No. Put them right into ships and make them fly the ships.
That seems like a dangerous idea.
They put them in a flight simulator. Fracking Cylons could hack it. I just blew that out of the water.
It was well done.
There's no possible objections to that reasoning.
So in the episode, they safely learn how to fly Vipers, and then the episode's over.
Yep.
It basically, okay, up until this point, Adama's been pretty rational. Mm-hmm. He's been like the pragmatic one, but now we see how he can be just emotionally.
Well, one thing,
and this is kind of one thing. Starbuck finally reveals her secret
about Zach, his son.
She told Lee in the miniseries, but this is the first time she's told, or I guess Lee accidentally spills it to Adama.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, she's upset about what happened with
which I guess
Zach. It's like, oh yeah, she told me about that. She told you?
Yeah, I'm fine.
She told you that she passed Zach on the fight test when he shouldn't have passed.
She was
what?
She was sleeping with him, and so she let that cloud her judgment, and that got him killed.
She told you that?
It's amazing how we're talking so much about this show, but there's still storylines that we're completely glossing over. That is a huge storyline.
It is definitely dense.
Yeah, it's a very dense show, but it's told so well.
Yeah,
but yeah, in this one,
I think you can see the voice improving over the course of these first 6 episodes in miniseries. Yeah, it starts out real hokey in the first half of the miniseries, and then it gets a little bit better and a little bit better, and it's starting to really come into its own.
I think probably because at the very beginning they need to lay the groundwork, sort of based on what happened with the original series. So then they get that all out of the way. So now they have these ideas and they can kind of do what they want with it.
Yeah,
yeah. So this episode gets into a lot of stuff too, with kind of flipping the roles of Adama and the president. I think a little bit. Basically, they are out training, and a bunch of Cylons show up, like 7 or 8. Cylon scouting party. Starbuck gets shot down into this planet, and so they're trying to find her and save her. And the president's like, "We got to go. More Cylons are coming. You're putting everything at risk for one person." And Adama and Lee are both like, "No, we're gonna.
It's a military decision,
right? We're gonna expend whatever we have to. We're gonna find Starbuck out there, no matter what."
Well,
which kind of shows that him being put in an emotionally vulnerable spot where he's willing to sacrifice the bigger picture for one person because it's one of his people.
And this is huge because the reason why he wants to find Starbuck so bad is not only are they super close, but on top of all that, they just had a big fight about, don't let your personal feelings get in the way of the mission. And basically,
do your job.
Yeah, do your job. And basically, before when they were talking more like a father and a daughter,
yeah,
that's the first time you ever see them actually him.
He doesn't want to leave on that sour of a note. He loves her, and he doesn't want it to be...
Reinstate the pilots and do your job, and walk out of here while you still can.
Yeah, and basically, he also doesn't... I got distracted.
You were the only one talking that time.
Oh, basically, it's a good contrast because he told her not to bring personal feelings into it, but then he does the exact same thing as soon as she's shot down. And then it takes the president to come in and tell him, "You're being unreasonable. This one person. You're going to kill all of us by sending all of the
you're sending all of the Vipers out to look for her instead of protecting the fleet.
All of their fuel." I think it was
they wasted 46.
Right. No, Ty was kind of the one who kind of ratted him out. He was like, this is a really bad military decision.
You might have to make an order about it. Yeah, and this is why I like Laura Roslin so much, is because Adama is such a strong character, and most people would be cowed, this is a military decision. But she's able to say, no, this is unacceptable.
This also establishes that everyone in the CIC is a real functioning human being, where they're all coming up to Adama, and they're like, the time's run out.
Right.
She's out of oxygen.
No, she might not.
The time was always just a guess.
Right. She might have a reserve tank or something.
And all these people just look scared and they don't know what to do.
I mean, there's
you can see the cogs turning in their head that if he continues down this path, there's eventually going to have to be a coup.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also, outside of personal reasons, because I was thinking about this too. Well, that's the flight instructor. She knows how to fly. She knows how to teach them. There is a reason to put extra effort rather than just Adama.
But not that much effort.
Yeah,
it works out because
obviously it works out because,
Which is the thing I did not like at all about this episode. I did not like her method of saving herself because I thought it was dumb and unbelievable.
Yeah, it was one of the more.
Why is the Cylon ship crashed? Her ship was destroyed utterly. The Cylon ship's just boop, like a little delicate butterfly in perfect shape, except for a hole which she patches with a part of her uniform.
Hey, that's up to standards for
airtight
space.
Vacuum seal with a piece of cloth. And then for some reason, this Cylon is made of meat and has like a brain and an oxygen supply that she's
just like tugging on nerves,
and conveniently enough space for a human to fit inside.
And there's manually operable controls. I'm like, why isn't it just a motherboard in there? Like, this is a robot race. Why do they have their ships require an oxygen supply and nutrients and airtight spaces?
I don't have a problem with like the general concept of it being organic. But like the specific stuff that you mentioned, I definitely have an issue with that.
It was way too convenient. Shoving out like, oh, here's a ship.
Sure, but like what I was thinking, like with the organic part of it is, well, a robot can only perform a specific function in programming, while an actual organic living thing can think outside the box of just like a program. Can improvise and do all that stuff, so it makes it a better pilot, and makes it more believable.
They're full AI already, so I mean,
are the metal Cylons full AI, or are they just...
At this point, we don't really know a lot about the nature of the Cylons.
Yeah, like the ones that are organic seem to be a lot more... They have a conscious, and
we know that they can look organic, so maybe this is just part of their experimentation to get to that point.
Maybe,
I don't know.
Well, they need,
but the way that it was controlled was a little silly.
Yeah, that was silly. Like that.
The fact that a jacket can make a space-worthy airtight seal.
That was worse than the rest of it when she was just like, bloop.
I'll just put this here.
That'll be fine, right? Yeah, that's good. I'll take my helmet off.
Just have to close your eyes during that part and try and forget it happened.
So I'm confused. So she popped the air thing off and then like put it in her mouth, but then she closed it and she just let it go?
Yeah, she just let it fill up the cabin.
Yeah, once she sealed it in, then it was like... And she also cut the bottom open with a knife, so they're all...
Yeah, but she put the panel back on. Okay. Maybe.
I did like their little survival kit oxygen tester. Like, that was kind of a clever. Yeah. Like that's just a piece of.
And they show it work, and then they show
they show it not work. They show it work, and you're like, oh, it's an oxygen tester. That's a thing you would have in a spacefaring emergency kit.
I think that accurately describes what the show is like, where
kind of like
these amazing situations that are really thought provoking, and some good drama. And then a little bit of really stupid drama, and just like complete leap of faith, ridiculous plotline,
right?
Just all mixed together.
Yep.
So it's definitely not a perfect show. It's one of my favorites, but it's not perfect. It's got a lot of flaws.
Yeah.
Well, find me one show that is perfect.
True Detective,
Breaking Bad,
Rick and Morty.
That's only one season.
None of those are perfect.
What?
You put number one as Battlestar Galactica on your favorite shows of all time.
But he lied about that.
Who?
You did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It has the highest highs.
There you go.
That's right. So we actually just talked about 2 episodes, because that was Active Contrition and You Can't Go Home Again. And it ends with, like, Lee going up to Bill Adama and saying, what if it was me? Would you have waited if it was me? And he goes,
we never would have left.
Are you kidding? If it was you, we never would have left.
So he lied.
And it's the way he delivers it is just very effective, very emotional.
Especially they've had that super strained relationship the whole time that they've like barely even able to stand next to each other, let alone have a heart-to-heart moment.
Yes.
So him just being able to just say that.
It's like, yeah, I'm mad at you, but you're still like the most important thing in my life.
Also, I wonder if who's his son's name again?
Lee.
I wonder if Lee kind of grounds Adama's... Hey, I got it. Adama, I think.
Congrats.
A simple word. How's it taking you almost 50 minutes to get it?
Because, screw you, that's why. I think he kind of grounds Adama's more...
You just got it wrong instantly after you got it right.
We made too big of a deal of it and broke it.
Right. Okay. I think Lee... He also identified that Lee grounds Adama's like military stiffness. Well, this guy's just a bad guy, and Lee knows this. Like Lee knows the prisoner read his books, and this is why we need to be able to trust him somewhat. Well,
Lee is definitely more of a dreamer.
Yeah,
he has more grand ideals about what's right and wrong, and sometimes forgets what's practical and necessary.
Yeah.
Which is something that will come into play a lot more.
I think that's honestly one of my favorite parts about the entire show, and this isn't specific to this episode, like the entire run of the series, the relationship between Lee and Adama are like just, it's so, because half the time it's, do they act as father and son? The other half is, do they act as military leader and subordinate? I mean, and they're kind of just wrestling with how they should act towards each other, in addition to having all this BS that happened to them in the past. And it's really fascinating to see, the changes that they go through and how they overcome some of the conflicts that happen.
Absolutely.
Basically, everything in the show is what is right for the situation, and we need to push aside these personal things to try to save the last remaining bit of.
You just get ready.
Yeah, it's about like putting decisions in context. Decisions that would seem cold outside of that context make perfect sense in this show.
In like all these other dramas, stuff like Walking Dead and stuff like that, the reason why I hate those shows because all the drama just feels like drama and not like a decision. Like, this is how we survive. Like, if we don't do this, we are actually going to die. Not, oh well, you have a kid, so clearly you're more important than me or us or whatever. Yep. It actually feels like, well, everyone actually wants to get out of the situation and not just, oh well, I just want my opinion.
That's to be heard. Exactly. It's like, yeah, you got a problem here, but you're putting that on the back burner because we're all about to die.
Yeah.
Whereas in The Walking Dead, it's like, my husband's violent when he gets mad. This is more important than not getting killed by zombies. That's a real plot line.
No, I know.
That's why
you're right.
That's why I don't like drama that much unless it's done really well, like Battlestar or Breaking Bad or True Detective, somewhat. I mean, I guess those are all dramas, but
I mean, I guess kind of in a way that it's not a super fair comparison since they're such different types of stories. Like Battlestar Galactica is about like what do you do when there's nothing left.
Yes.
Whereas like Walking Dead is about how do you. It's like skipping a few steps ahead of that. They're already nothing's left, but now they're just trying to rebuild. Like, how do you maintain your humanity when you're trying to rebuild society?
Right.
So, I mean, that's kind of a different...
And also, just like the
facet.
the scope of being the only things left in a universe and trying to rebuild on a planet that can still support you.
Right. Which it kind of, and the thing, too, with being the only ones left in the universe, that he had that, it was the end of the miniseries of the first episode where he talked about Earth and how, we're going to find, like... Only the top fleet commanders knew the secret location of the lost 13th colony. And he's like, I'm going to take us there. And then, like, immediately the president's like, that's total BS. There's no way you know that. That's garbage. I'm like, it seems weird that nobody else would have been like, that's total garbage.
But she had talked to President Adar, which is how she knew.
Right, but I mean, it seems like a ridiculous thing.
It's also like, it's really, it's deep-seated in their religion.
What I'm saying is... It seems like everybody's got to understand that that's crap. But they're all just like, what else do we have?
What else are we going to do?
Sure, Earth. Let's go for it, buddy.
Yeah.
It's at least something to hold on to. They have to know there's zero chance that they'll ever find it, but it's something for them to reach towards at least in the meantime.
Space is gigantic.
Right.
But you have to have a goal. And I think there are, like, it is in the religion, so there are some people who are, like, religious that believe in Earth.
Right. I mean, they might believe in the concept of Earth, but the fact that, like, this mythical place, it's like if Adama was just literally like, I have the roadmap to heaven, everybody.
Yeah. That's a good analogy.
We keep it a secret from you guys, but
we're going there now. We're taking the Battlestar, we're going to pull up on the curb.
The Admirals have had this all along, so.
Yep. And that brings us to our final episode of the original run, Litmus.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. This is the best episode.
You want to describe what happens?
Yes, of course.
Litmus test. This is definitely my favorite of the ones that I watched.
So, it's established that Chief and Boomer have this, secretive relationship. Chief is covered for Boomer on many occasions. His whole deck crew knows about it, and they're covering for them as a couple.
I think pretty much everybody seems to know.
Everybody
it's like
knows.
A very open secret.
But, everybody's worried about more important things. It starts with a suicide bomber making it to the sea deck.
It was the tour guide from the first episode, wasn't it?
That they got rid of, didn't they?
Yes. The one that Baltar accused of being a Cylon without really knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And
they left him
behind.
So
it was a Cylon. But yeah, so this starts all kinds of questions. it becomes revealed that leadership knew that Cylons look like humans.
Mm-hmm.
It reveals some negligence on part of the crew, which once they investigate, everybody has a conflicting story because they think they're just covering for the fact that Chief and Boomer were together.
Right.
But it has much higher implications that they're all colluding with Cylon agents. And so the Master at Arms, I think is that what she is?
Yeah, the Master of Arms, her name was...
She wants an independent...
Sergeant Hadrian.
Council. To
independent, unlimited power.
Yeah.
No commander review.
Right.
And so it ends up... everything looks worse than it is. I guess maybe it's not as bad as it is, but ends up coming to a standoff with Adama and the council.
Right, so she's going around and she's interviewing everyone.
It does what a witch hunt does.
Yes. And it starts to, like, none of the stories make sense, so it becomes more and more paranoid for her as she keeps going. And all the people are so loyal to Chief that they are lying under oath for him and saying whatever it takes to get him off. And what's the guy that gets...
Osinus?
Is it Osinus? He eventually, like, he's so deep into it that he's like, I guess I colluded with the Cylon. If that, whatever you're saying the Chief did, that was all me.
Right.
Just to save the Chief.
Yeah, he just martyred himself.
And,
which then kind of had that interesting moment after, like, towards the end when the Chief goes to Adama, is like, this guy, he lied. He's innocent. You can't hold him responsible for that. And I think Adama's reaction of, like, you put your man in a position where he had to lie to protect you.
Yeah.
So his punishment is your consequence.
Yep.
Like,
that was great.
You did
what
this.
I can't do is let a man get up on the witness stand and lie under oath.
Right. It's like what the guy did was wrong, and he did it because you put him in that position.
Yeah.
And the Chief would be in the brig if it weren't for the fact that he's so experienced.
Right.
And he can help.
Yeah,
keep
it's like,
the
you're the
planes
best
flying.
non-commissioned officer we have left. I can't put you in the brig. You're going to have to deal with the fact that one of your guys is in the brig because of you.
Right. And you're
Because
gonna
you
have to
can't
start...
keep it in your pants.
Yes.
Right.
That is what he said.
My favorite moment, though, was the standoff between Adama and Hayden. Is that what's her name?
Hadrian.
Hadrian.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the moment when he makes the military man choose his orders.
Yes. Right. Because she's
Here's
like,
your orders.
She's going at him. She's like, you didn't tell anyone that the Cylons look like humans. If you had told people that the Cylons look like humans, would you have made different decisions, and this would have not happened in the first place? And it's like, we're done here.
Right.
And then
it's like, you arrest him. No, you arrest her. No, you arrest him.
No,
she's like, Marine, put him back in the witness chair. And then he's like, send her to her room. And the guy's just sitting there. He's like looking at her, and then she looks at him, and he's clearly sizing up who he has more duty to.
Right.
And he makes the right choice.
Or does he?
You always choose Adama.
Or do you?
So, interesting thing about this episode is it was actually written as a cost-saving episode. They were just over budget. They needed to save more of their budget for other episodes. So they had to write something really cheap to film.
It was like half a bottle episode.
Yeah.
Half a bottle?
Which is weird because, like...
Bottle episode, you film the whole episode in one scene, in one room.
They meant like they
two
couldn't
rooms
afford
in that
booze, so they could only drink half the bottle of booze for this episode to write it.
One of the episodes has Thai in the title, so I'm assuming that's what that one's going to be about.
But I feel like you guys should try something where you like hang a fishing lure with a bunch of shiny shit hanging off the edge from the ceiling. That way, anytime Stitch goes off on one of his little tangents, somebody just like dings it, and then he'll stop and concentrate on it.
It would have to be like hot dogs attached to it.
No, more. How about like mobile, like a mobile with
we need it right now.
Liquor attached to it.
Oh,
See, exactly.
Like little,
somebody get out their car keys.
Those little tiny vodka bottles.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've talked about this on the show before, but I think Tank and I have talked about this. How oftentimes bottle episodes and like budget episodes end up being the best.
Right, because the writers can't rely on any big set pieces, or it's all character. You have to.
They just have to write the shit out of it. And you end up getting
do.
the most character development, the most insight into what people think and do.
Right.
And also, I just want to bring this up. We've made it to the last episode we're talking about, and we haven't at all talked about Caprica and Hilo and Sharon.
Yeah.
And I think there's a reason for that. That's probably the
No one
weakest
cares.
part
Right.
of that series up until this point. It's just watching them survive and develop this relationship, and she's a Cylon, and
which there's kind of like that, like the old Hitchcock thing about suspense versus fear, and like suspense, you show the bomb under the table, or like so the audience knows the bad thing's coming, but it has to be done well. I feel
and they're really dragging
with,
it out. I think what they're doing is they're trying to make both stories come to a certain point.
Right.
They're trying to remind you, hey, this story still exists. Don't forget about it.
Right.
And it's just dragging at this point.
And he they haven't done anything really yet with him to warrant me caring about him. It's like he's one of the billions of people that are going to die on that planet.
Yep.
Like there's not he hasn't done anything particularly interesting. He's just
Right, the Cylons have like some weird gimmicky thing they're trying to do with them, but anytime we're watching his scenes, I'm just like, let's go back to the Battlestar. I want to see what's happening at the Battlestar.
Right. This is Battlestar Galactica, not Caprica Galactica.
Yeah, probably the most interesting thing that's come, I think, out of the Caprica stuff is kind of the like weirdly religious conversations that the meat Cylons are having.
Yeah,
like they have some sort of. Seems like this like reverence and hate for the humans, and then there's some other deification going on that they're really focused on. I don't understand it yet.
Also, like,
I don't know.
I'm trying to figure out why the Cylons even care to follow him. Why not just kill him and move on? Like that's what I'm interested in finding out.
There was one scene that I thought was actually pretty good with them, and that was, I believe it took place during the miniseries, and that's when Hilo first went down to the planet.
Oh yeah, that was actually really good.
And he's like, I'm going to go look for survivors, whatever, blah, 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 and just what you would think. Everybody wants on the ship to get off the planet.
Right.
And they have to kind of decide who stays and who goes.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a pretty crazy scene.
People are drawing their lots.
You had to murder that dude who was trying to climb on the ship after they were taken off.
Yeah. And Baltar's sitting there, and this old woman's like, I can't read my card. Did I win? And Baltar's like,
oh, yeah.
I'm going to say you're not. Oh, I'm saved. Okay.
And then they're like, you're Baltar. And he gets on the ship.
This lady has 42.
It would have been better if he literally just
grabbed it from her. I have it.
I think that's exactly what we were expecting. But then when he didn't do it, you're like, oh, so he's not a complete asshole.
The way it did happen
is because he thought he was being called out. Like somebody said, "Your guy is Baltar," and he's like, "Oh,
I haven't done anything." That's what he says.
Yeah, I think he would have taken it.
I forgot about that part.
But it kind of goes back to what Shanna said, where the universe is constantly like just saving him at the last minute.
Yeah. Okay, the thing that I'm a little confused about, I don't know if it was said and I missed it. Like, does someone out there know that he's responsible? Because it seemed like pretty much that the baby killing Cylon lady, took advantage of him, unleashed the apocalypse, and that was it. But like he seems really paranoid about people figuring this out.
I think
is there some evidence of his involvement?
I think she helped him and like rewrote the program or something.
Yeah,
so maybe...
like just the fact that he gave her access, and I think it's just. He knows he's involved.
Right.
And there might be a way to find out. And there might be someone alive who had access to the defense mainframe who saw an anomaly that was associated with him. Like, he's really paranoid.
Right.
Yeah,
So they're going to play with that, too.
If you destroyed the world because you can't keep it in your pants... Wouldn't you be a little bit paranoid and guilty?
I get that. It seems like he's very specifically paranoid about some of this stuff.
I think it's more like... And this might just sound totally off the wall, but I mean, I think a lot of it's just guilt.
Right.
He flat out, like, he says he didn't know what she was going to do with it. He's like, you didn't tell me you were going to do it. Like, why would anybody want defense codes for your freaking, security system for your entire plan? Come on. Seriously,
She
dude.
explained it for some reason. Like, I forget the reason, but she explained it beforehand, like, in the miniseries.
Just before it happened.
I'm going to make them way better, buddy. Going to make everything super... locked down for you.
But also he's kind of paranoid because why am I hallucinating her? Is she real? Is she not? Like, that's another reason why he's paranoid.
And he's like an atheist, and she's telling him about the one true God, and it's getting really weird for him. And she's predicting things like before they happen.
Right.
So something's going on that he can't understand.
Yeah. At this point, who would you say is your favorite characters? Because I think that's my favorite part of the show is like certain characters really stand out to me. Like Roslyn, Chief, Gaius. Those are like I think the most well written characters on there. Oh, and Adama and Ty. I mean, I don't know. I can't really pick.
I like
Do you guys
Adama.
have one?
Adama's always been my favorite.
Yep, same with me.
I like Ty because I can relate to him.
Yeah, Adama is probably the easiest choice so far. I kind of like the Chief, but I sort of like him in a way where it's like, this is the guy the writers really want you to like. So I kind of am like, you got to earn this a little more still.
Oh, he's so nice, though.
Right.
He's always helping everyone.
Right.
Who's the
He cares about all these people getting killed.
Yeah.
who's the girl underneath the chief, like the really kind of Callie? I like her. I don't know why. She's also cute.
Yeah, that's why.
I think I like the interactions and relationships between the characters rather than any specific character themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, like, they're so well written individually, and you get to see how these well-developed characters interact once they're introduced. Like, Starbuck and Gaius, what would they do? Madam President and Lee.
Like with Chief and his crew, it's kind of like he catches them with a distillery, and like he's like, "Do you guys want to go to the sick bay or end up?"
He's yelling at them. He's like, "You guys are the sorriest of the sorry
because you did this without telling me."
Yeah.
Let me show you how to do this.
You know, character I don't like so far is Hilo. Because we already touched on that a little bit, but it's just like he keeps coming off as just even kind of stupid.
Yeah.
That's
very true.
Bland.
There's that bit where they find that shelter, and he goes upstairs to make a toaster strudel or whatever, and he hears robots walking around outside, and he's like, "What's that?" And he's like hiding, and like, "What is that noise?" And they come through. He's like, "What's going on?" And then he sees the Cylon in the reflection, like, "It's a Cylon," and gets his gun out. Then
I think for especially for those of us that have seen this all the way through, this is probably the most true. Hilo is, for all you D&D players out there, the paladin of the group.
Yeah, that's very true.
Stupid paladins or sun clerics.
I think kind of another reason why you may think he's stupid is because
he's stupid. That's why.
Okay,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, he doesn't know what has gone on until like after he's landed on Earth, so he doesn't know that Cylons can be human now. He doesn't know that. I don't even think he really knows if the Cylons are doing this.
Yeah, that's true. But
did they know that everything was destroyed when they went down there?
They were like crash landing because their ship got hit. So, but what you said is true, but that doesn't excuse him being knocked out by Cylons twice and not being like, "Oh, I wonder why they didn't kill me."
Right.
I guess I should just keep going.
I keep getting knocked out by Cylons, and then the same two people are standing there.
Yeah, he never looks up, I guess.
Yeah.
They're just like on top of the building staring at him.
Yeah, kind of a little bit far away. But
the two are standing like in a spotlight right above him, perfectly silhouetted. I'm like, that's really eye-catching right there. That's...
I see the superheroes made it. Cool.
Well,
maybe
off I go.
Maybe he's blind. You don't know that.
I got to change my favorite character to Doc Cottle. Doc Cottle's fantastic.
You and the doctor.
He's so good.
You and the doctor.
Just smoking.
Yeah.
Rosalind's like, "Do you mind?" "Yes, I do mind." Just smoking it up.
I'd give you more pills, but I need them for me.
That great scene where
I liked his response to that. "Yes, I do mind," because it was like right after she threw that in his face for whatever, like about not telling him about her cancer or something. He's like,
Yeah.
"I do mind telling you that." Well, then I do mind not smoking.
There's that great scene where Baltar gives a cigar to Starbuck, and then she lights it up and just blows it in his face, and there's just this awkward, and he just walks away.
I just love James Callis. Is that what his name is? Like, he's so expressive and amazing. Like, he makes Gaius for me. Any other actor in there, I'd probably hate the character. But since he's so Weasley and like...
He's so pathetic that you feel bad for him, even though he's clearly evil.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I don't know that he's evil.
He's
not as bad as
selfish.
Very, very selfish.
He's not as bad as Vanilla Baltar with like, yes, go kill all the humans, go.
Yeah. What is your mission? To kill all humans. Well, then why aren't you doing it? But don't do it right now. Get out of the room
Turn
first.
20 steps and then start killing all the humans.
I think Gaius Baltar like personifies everything about humans that we don't want to admit about ourselves.
I could see
Like
that.
you look at him and you're just like,
the
I
most
can't believe that guy. Blah, blah, blah. But it's like,
Right.
you know what? A lot of people would do the same stuff that he's doing.
He's
Very
like
petty,
the-
very cowardly.
this show's version of the Ferengi, I guess. Does that make sense?
Get your
That's
Star.
racist against the Ferengi.
Get your
If there are
Star
any
Trek out
Ferengi
of
listening
here.
right now, we apologize.
Get your Star Trek out of here. This is a real show.
I think we've pretty much covered the first 6 episodes, but now we need to talk to Stitch about what he thinks about Star Trek.
It's all bad. Except
Yeah.
for
All right.
Yeah.
And that's all the time we have for today.
Except
He's not represented.
if it's not made by J.J. Abrams, it's not good.
Oh, get out of here. That's...
I think that's maybe the single most polarizing opinion of Star Trek I've ever heard.
He was going on a tirade the other night talking about how boring Star Trek is. And
It
how
is.
it's stupid.
And they have fucking Whoopi Goldberg. That ruined the whole thing for me.
Wow.
I hate Whoopi Goldberg.
Why?
She's a bitch.
Why?
That's stupid.
I don't know.
You're just making that up.
Okay.
I don't like her.
So that's our showcase for
Not making that
Battlestar
up.
Galactica. We're going to watch the second half of season 1 and have that out to you in 2 weeks. So finish off the season and then listen to us.
Yay.
Anyone got anything else?
Witcher 3.
The Witcher 3, huh?
Yeah.
Is that what you were
Summer
playing?
season.
You excited? You got it on your new laptop?
Yeah.
Oh, you have a new laptop?
Oh,
yeah.
Didn't you have a new laptop last time?
They always have a
Manager.
What
new
is
laptop.
this now?
What did you got this time?
I got the Gigabyte something.
The Gigabyte? I thought you had an MSI.
No, it's Gigabyte.
Oh.
Football Manager 2015 is on sale.
Oh, we gotta go.
How much?
Real football?
$17.
Real football or soccer?
Does it have Oculus Rift support?
Real football, so soccer.
It's originally called soccer.
JJ's not prepared for when the Oculus Rift comes out. Because it's going to give me an excuse to play. Well, yeah. But it's also going to give me an excuse to play even more ridiculous games that you don't expect.
Did you see the new games they announced with their,
Victor Barranco on trombone. Sergeant Major Craig Frederick on the trumpet and the composition. The Army Blues.
Our showcase theme, the song Booga Blue by the U.S. Army Blues, was brought to you by the Creative Commons Attribution License.